So I was thinking about how to help you guys feel more motivated, and I started thinking about a friend of mine. I met her at a hypnosis class that I was doing a couple years ago, and she was just fabulous. She was very inspiring, and she said, one of the things that I want to do is I want to inspire people. And I said, okay, that sounds good, I'm all up for that. And she says, well, I was a librarian for many years, and I didn't do too much, and then I decided that I wanted to start living life. And so I took this trip, and her name was Marie, so I took this trip. Okay, and here's Marie. She said, I decided that when I was in my early 70s, or 65, 70, somewhere around there, I was gonna go on a little canoe trip, and that was really out of my comfort zone. I wasn't regularly expecting to do that, so I decided I was going to do that. And so she jumped in her canoe, and she went to Colorado, and she went on a trip. And I said, so what's the most fascinating thing about, having an adventure? She said, well, I got the adventure bug. She says, once you get a little adventure, you want a little more. And I thought, well, that's cool. So I started asking her, and she said, well, I'd like to write a book and inspire people my age to go out there and live. And I said, well, what if they're afraid they're going to fall and break a hip? She says, you could do that in your driveway. Wouldn't you rather do it falling off a mountain or something cool? And I thought, this gal's got something special. So I asked if she had any pictures, and of course she did. So I made a PowerPoint, and next thing I know, she's going all over the place and doing all these really cool things. So I'm just going to... she's skydiving and going to Australia, and that's what it looks like in there, and wallabies, and she went all over the place, and I just thought it was really fabulous. So, anyway, I thought it would be really cool to tell you the story about Marie, and how motivated you could be, and how inspired you could be, and then I got this other idea, why don't I have her tell you herself? So Marie, why don't you come up here? Can you please welcome Marie Albertson? If you want to go through this little slide, just hit the little arrow button there, and I'm going to sit down and enjoy this.
Well, every time I'm with Tim, I learn something new. Posture is so great because, as we get older, walking around like this, and, you can lose 5 years if you stand up straighter. You can lose 5 pounds if you stand up straighter. But I'm always learning things from him. I met Tim, as he said, at a presentation like this over at the Monon Center. And it was a February night, and there were just women in the group, and Tim went around to each woman and asked where they were in life and what they expected from the class. And when he got to me, I said, well, I've walked on the Great Wall in China, I've jumped out of an airplane, and I've snorkeled with sea lions in the Galapagos. And he was a little taken back. And he said, well, you have to share your journey. You have to do something with that. You have to talk to other people and motivate them to do that. Because I started this when I was in my 70s. I retired from the State Library downtown. I was a late-in-life librarian, but that's another story. But anyway, he said, now you go home and write. And so that's what I did. I went home, and every morning at my computer, at least 30 minutes, and everyone should do this, you write. You write for 30 minutes, and you just type. You don't think about grammar, and you don't think about punctuation, which is really hard for me because I'm a librarian. I like those periods in there. But anyway, everyone should do that because you are unique. And that's what Tim told me. He said, you are unique. You have to share this. And so, since I've talked to Tim last, I think I've been to Egypt. Well, I went to Egypt before the revolution, right before the revolution. They didn't look very revolutionary to me, but anyway, floated down the Nile, rode a camel around the pyramids, and yes, I have walked on the Great Wall, and yes, I jumped out of an airplane at age 75. I had the opportunity to do it free, and I wasn't going to pass that up. I even had a photographer with me to catch all these wonderful moments that my grandkids love to laugh at. And so, but I really, Tim was the first one to say, you could do it. You can do it. And he made me succeed. I thought everybody in their 70s was doing it. My family thought everybody in the 70s was doing it. I have 2 daughters, and one of them I would say, I'm going to jump out of an airplane, and she'd say, you're going to do what? And I'd say, I'm going to jump out of an airplane. The other one I'd tell her, and she'd say, yeah, go ahead. So I said, It's a difference in kids, I guess. I don't know. And the boys were completely nonplussed. They thought, oh well, whatever she's doing, let her go. Let her do it. And so, last Christmas I went to Paris on a river cruise. And I'm not rich because I'm a retired librarian, so I find cheap seats. And you can do that. I usually travel with Overseas Adventure Travel, and the groups are small and you get to know everybody. And I don't usually go on cruises, but this river cruise turned out to be pretty nice because we were right on the River Seine, and we docked on the left bank, which always sounds so Parisian. And so it was a good time, and I enjoyed it. And then in the spring, I went to Barcelona because my grandson was studying. He was spending a semester in Spain, and so I had to do that. And the motel was right close to the Mediterranean. Barcelona is a beautiful, beautiful place, and if you like architecture, it's a wonderful place to visit. And one morning, every morning I'd go out and walk along the beach, along the Mediterranean, and it pays to really know the language, especially with the signs, because I wandered onto a nude beach. I have pictures. You probably don't want to see them. Anyway,
Great. What was this gentleman's name? If you look on the computer.
Oh, that's Richie. That's in Ireland. I went to Ireland, and my roommate Joe. I usually travel alone, so I never know who my roommates are going to be. But you know, that's part of the adventure. And so we went into a pub to listen to Irish music. And Joe, my roommate, told me that every afternoon she'd disappear. And she said, well, I have to go away and have my 2 shots of Jack Daniels. And I didn't know it, but anyway, when we got to the pub, we were sitting there, and in the other room, you could see actual bar. And it was the Cheers. It's Cheers. You know, the regulars are sitting on the stools, and the bottles are all lined up. It was Cheers. And anyway, I said to Joe, come on, let's go in the bar. And of course, she was all really willing to go in the bar. And I met Richie here, this red-faced Irishman, and I said, can we take your picture? I was really timid because I thought he was going to say, no, no, no. He said, sure. And he gives me a big hug. And by this time, all the regulars are coming off their stools, and they went in the picture, too. It was neat. But don't ever hold yourself back. Because I used to hear, well, you're too old. Nah, you're not too old. You know, if you're upright and breathing, you're not too old, you know? And it's too late. No, it's not too late. And another one is, I'm saving that. Don't save things, and don't save your days. You know, enjoy every day. And do something different every day if you can, even if it's just brushing your teeth with the other hand. But just, you know, do something. Just do something different. I try to live by the 3 C's. And the first one is curiosity. You know, be curious about life. And you're all curious or you wouldn't be here. You're curious about Tim and hypnosis. And just, you know, question things and delve into things. As a research librarian, I love that. Because then I not only, you know, found what the client was looking for, but I learned something too. And the next one is change. Everybody's going to have change in their life. No matter how old you are, you know, changes are going to happen. So, and another one is challenge. And sometimes those changes can bring a lot of challenges. My husband had Parkinson's, and he was always a breadwinner. And suddenly I found that I was a breadwinner. And so there's lots of challenges in life, but we just get through them. And where else have I been? Oh, that's me riding the camel around the pyramids.
Of course. Right.
And
I was at the food court that day. She was in Egypt.
That was neat. I really liked it. Our guide, his name was Amin. I hope he's okay. He just loved his country. He was just in love with Egypt, and he knew everything about it. You know, I thought I couldn't go back to the States and do what he did because I don't know that much about our wonderful country. And we do have a wonderful country. And I don't mean to denigrate it by not traveling here, but I took up kayaking at 65. And I've kayaked on a lot of rivers out west, kayaked in Australia on the Coral Sea. That was great. It was about dusk, and the mountains were behind us, and the sun was setting. It was just a marvelous, marvelous place. Everyone should go to Australia. It's a heck of a plane ride, but man, when you get there, you would really enjoy it. You know, and, oh, I did other things I've done along the way.
Which one you want? You want the nomad family, or you want the?
Well,
you've got so many stories.
This is the nomad family in Morocco, and they were all living. 3 generations were living under one tent. And you know, through interpreters, you know what the women ask us? They said, "Where are your children?" Because you know their children were right there. And so it was very thought-provoking to hear her say that. But they travel. I mean, this is how they travel. And these people were rich because they had goats and camels, but they would pick up and move. Morocco is a very interesting country because it's being modernized by the young king, and so the roads have all been paved over. But I worry about the nomads because I'm sure their way of life will be shrinking. So, and then I was in Florida not too long ago, and I had an opportunity to trapeze. I mean, that's
Did you meet Tito? Did you meet Tito?
No.
It's the circus one there in Florida, isn't it? By Sarasota.
Yeah. That's it.
I was just there about 2 months ago
Really?
with Tito. Yeah, him and his family run that, and they're in the Hall of Fame for Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Oh,
So I got to
yeah.
do that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't
Did you
that
go
fun?
upside down?
Well, I think so. You know, I mean, I'm climbing this rickety stairs,
Oh, yeah.
steps, and you get up there, and the young guy, he's saying, now you hold on with this hand, and when the bar comes at you, you grab it with this hand. Well, I didn't really want to let go of this hand.
Yeah.
But
I
you
didn't
do,
either.
And you swing out, and it's really surreal. We did it at night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was
Wow.
the moon was shining, and it was interesting. And of course, there's a net there, and then you have to think about letting go and just falling. You talk about that guy who just jumped out of the space and
Yes.
landed in New Mexico, and then it was fun though. You know, I would do it. I think we did it twice.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I would do it again. But then I like to do everything. I've taken Irish step dancing lessons. You know, where those girls go like this. Hey, that's not easy. and it was hard. I mean, I was worn out when I got out. But they just stand so stiff, and it was neat. And I plan to take a welding class soon, as soon as I can sign up for it. And what else have I done
Welding class.
in life?
Let's see.
That's Ecuador. When you go to the Galapagos Islands, you first have to fly into Ecuador. And then while we were in Ecuador, we went up and stayed in a lodge in the jungle. And we walked through the jungle, and we met a medicine man. And he was rich because he had a house. It had no windows, but it was, house. And his chickens were running all over. Talk about free-range chickens. They were really there. But that was interesting. And then at night, when we went tubing, this is the Napo River. When we went tubing on the river, and then somebody said afterwards, there's piranhas in that river. But we didn't know it at the time, so it didn't bother us. And this is interesting because this is a school boat. It's not a school bus, but a school boat. And the kids will wait along the river and wait for the boat to pick them up in the morning. And so I got to ride along one morning, and you can see how white their shirts are. And I had seen the mothers washing their white shirts in the Napo River, which looked like a muddy river to me. But these kids were just white, spick and span. It was really neat. And that's a bamboo bridge in Ecuador. We went on a night hike one night, and there was a giant spider, about this size, and he was right on the tree. but the trees, or the sky at night is just luminous. The stars just glow, because at 6 o'clock we had no electricity. So, you know, when it got dark, everything was dark. But the sky was just beautiful. And that was a guide in Ecuador, and that he knew all about the trees. And at one point he went to some tree, one of the trees in the jungle, and he took something off and he rubbed it on his hand. And it was first red, but as he rubbed it, it became white. And then he said, the natives use this for everything, all kinds of medicine. And I think a lot of the pharmaceutical companies are going down there now and trying to find out some of their healing techniques. And that's one of the monkeys that wasn't very friendly. Yeah, what else have I done that's interesting here?
There's
Just,
scuba diving, and there's the sea lions.
Oh, the sea lions were everywhere in the Galapagos, and they would be on the benches and just everywhere. But and that's one of the giant tortoises. Some reputedly was 150 years old. I don't know how they knew, but anyhow, it was. Oh, another thing I did was went on a Mustang ride out in eastern California, in the Sierra Nevada mountains. And I've always been interested. See, curiosity. I've always been interested in the Mustangs. And so I had this chance to go, and the thing was I had to get there, which was get on a plane here, fly to Chicago, Chicago to San Francisco to Reno, and then I had to rent a car and drive 150 miles down to Bishop, California, in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous country. I'd never been to that part of California, and it's really a skiing area, but it's just beautiful. And I met the other women, and there were 11 women, and the rest of them were real horsewomen. I mean, they had horses at home. And some of the money from the trip went to save the Mustangs, and that's why they were there. But I hadn't been on a horse in 6 years, and somebody said, you better take a lesson. And I thought, oh well, you just get on, throw your leg over, which I did. But these women, they were great. We got our horses, and they brought the horses, first of all, they brought the horses out after we drove, you know, kind of up in the mountains. Here comes the horses. And this giant horse was in front of me, and I said to the lady next to me, I hope that's not my horse. Well, it was. And his name was Light, and he knew immediately who was boss. I mean, who was the boss. So we go up in the mountains. We got on the horses, went up in the mountains, and we pitched our tents. And this is the end of May, and it snowed. Oh. I mean, this is the end of May, and it's snowing. It was cold. It was so cold we didn't really see as many Mustangs as I had hoped, but maybe next time. But we had a good time, and of course I say these were wonderful horsewomen. When I got home, they sent me an email, and they said, we voted you Cowgirl of the Week. You know, the things you could do in this country. I love kayaking because you get on these rivers and you just see a different part of the country that you know, from the highway. And it's just beautiful. Colorado River was my first kayaking trip, and I was just blown away by the beauty of it. It's just gorgeous, you know. And I've sea kayaked off the coast of Georgia. Well, one summer I worked on a tall ship out of Southern California, and we sailed over to Catalina Island. And that was interesting because it had 13 sails, and every morning we had to put them up, and every night we had to put them away. And we had a young captain, and it had an engine, but he was determined we were not going to go anywhere until the wind picked up. And so we had to sit and wait. And I was used to kayaking, where you just get in, you know, start going. Well, not with him. We had to wait. So I figured that this has to be a male thing. And I think, is that all I've done? I don't know. Anyway, just, you know, enjoy life. And Tim is a great motivator. I mean, he just inspired me, and I'll be eternally grateful for what he did for me, because he was the first one that said, you know, do it. Go do it. I kept hearing hearing that in my head as I took, you know, I typed all these pages, and I had, you know, a stack of pages that I had typed, and I found a publisher, and I reluctantly took him to her because I kept hearing Tim say, "Do it, do it." And I took him to the publisher, and I thought she was going to say, you know, "Get out, they're terrible." And she said, "No, it's pretty good. We'll make a book out of it." And so that's what I did. And the name of the book is "Old Librarians Never Die, They Jump Out of Airplanes."
It's pretty awesome. Do you guys have any questions for Marie? Did you notice how she do you notice how she described the trip, and how she described every experience and every memory? Did she sit there and go, "Yeah, it was all right that day. It rained. It's kind of cold. You know, it was a little noisy in the room. The food wasn't that great." No, she didn't do that.
Fun.
Yeah, interesting, fun, beautiful, gorgeous. Just gorgeous, right? We were all there with her on every experience and everything she talked about. Just gorgeous. She's using beautiful words, and she's standing tall, and she's sharing these experiences, and it makes you feel like you can do it too. So, I'm gonna have to put you on the staff.
Sassy.
I know. I'm telling you what. Well, you know, when you ride a horse named Light, you know, and at a dude ranch, you come back. That's right. You come back with a little bit of stuff. I don't know what it is. Yeah, a little bit of swagger. Yeah.
Remember, you can do it too. And don't think it's out of your price range, because, well, I visited every continent now. That was my plan. But I haven't been to Antarctica, because that is out of my price range. That's pretty, and I met one lady on a kayaking trip, and she'd been around the world, and but she never took pictures. And I said, "Never?" And she said, "No." I said, "You didn't even take them when you went to Antarctica?" And she said, "No, it was all white." And I've heard other people say, it's just, you know, if you want to go, you could say you've been there, but it is white, except for the penguins. But it is pretty pricey, so I doubt if I get there. But I've been to all the other continents, so that was my goal.
For a small fraction of the price, we will hypnotize you to think you were in Antarctica.
I don't believe
and it'll be, you know, a third of what you would have normally paid, and you will have had the best time ever. You won't have pictures, but
I don't believe that she's not going to go. Not her.
Yeah, no, there won't be anything to do.
Sponsor, I might.
Yeah, well, there you go. We're working on that next. We're working on creating a sponsor, because I think she would be a wonderful spokesperson for somebody. So that's what we're intending next, and I've already got ideas. And so,
how about Red Bull?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can do that. Have you been to space? You haven't been to space yet, so think about it.
I would love to go to space.
Okay,
oh,
so we'll work on
to
it.
do that.
So,
yes.
I have a buddy that knows Branson. Is that his name?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But she was on TV. They went to her house and they filmed an episode Fox News did.
Well, it's going to be on Monday, they said.
Oh, you found out? So it's going to be on Monday? And is that in the morning or afternoon, do you know? As soon as you know, let me know, and I will blast it out to my list. And of course, I'm going to find it and put it on our website or somewhere too. Because
Well, the first scene I was baking cookies, like a grandmother should do. But then I took it from there.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait to see what they did. So, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Marie, for doing this. I really appreciate it. Everybody, give Marie a warm thank you.